I'm a British trained osteopath. I work a lot with physical trauma and the after effects of trauma. And I'm very interested in anything that enhances presence. What I mean by presence is a kind of contactfulness with one's own experience, moment to moment. So that one's sensing into what's happening in my body. At the same time, I'm aware of this conversation, what the content is. I'm meeting your gaze when you look or with the camera. So there's a way in which I can show up, and I've noticed extreme benefit in the extent to which I can engender that, not just with myself, but with people with whom I work when I'm working as an osteopath. And so my talk in Berlin was really to introduce the idea and the use of biofeedback technology, developed here in Canada as in a slightly different way from the HeartMath Institute, but similar, a little more sophisticated. Using that technology as a way to have a tangible feedback mechanism, report, when I'm more fully present, when I'm in a state of heart coherence. So that is the benefit of the technology. The technology really reflects that possibility. And I can see then, when do I depart from that? And what's the experience that happens just before and during any departure from that coherent state? And what's the benefit of me being in that coherent state? How does it differ experientially and in the quality of the experience with the patient? And what we're wanting to go on to is to actually have a hookup where I and the person I'm working with are both having this biofeedback possibility report what's going on.
Mm-hmm. How does it dovetail, connect, relate to the topics of embodiment in that workshop a couple days ago?
Well, it's in all sorts of ways. We were experimenting with being present in our bodies while walking around the room, while being aware of other people as we walked by them, seeing what happened in the wild with birds or seals or whatever wanted to show up in that situation, and we're more in contact. To me, that's exactly the same kind of experience in my body as when the biofeedback is showing me I'm coherent. It's a very similar felt sense. All of my senses sharpen, but no one is particularly overbearing on another. Nothing distracts me from what's going on in a way that disconnects me from anything else. It's just like the whole possibility of sensing into the world and into myself opens up more fully.
And so these states of coming into real, what you could say almost original or natural states of embodiment that we're working with in somatic experiencing, and the way that I've been extrapolating from it to go beyond into other realms matches up with the states that you're finding when you work with the biofeedback.
Totally. And the teachings that I follow with the diamond approach are speaking about the same thing. And certainly all the martial arts things that I've ever done, in essence, seem to be pointing to the same thing. That when we are aware of where the body centers are, Cynthia Bourgeot, another teacher of mine, talks about three-centered awareness: the body, the heart, the mind. When all those three centers line up and we're conscious from all three, and we approach things from that embodied state, the quality of interaction, the quality of possibility of experience becomes richer, becomes fuller, becomes more gentle, becomes kinder, and becomes more healing.
The last thing is this topic of embodiment that I'm exploring through the lens of somatic experiencing. You're exploring through the realms of, through the biofeedback. It seems that this is a cutting-edge topic that's emerging from numerous fields right now. Maybe you could just say something about that. Is this a cutting edge that we're connecting to states of being to what can be really connected to the cutting edge of neuroscience and the wiring of our bodies?
Absolutely. What's been recently found out in terms of neuroplasticity, in terms of polyvagal theory, situations of new understandings of indigenous cultures, traditional First Nation cultures. As we talked earlier, it certainly seems that for ages throughout time in humankind there have been practices that help engender this kind of thing. But we didn't know until now that it's possible to use some forms of meditation and certainly some forms of biofeedback technology and other things perhaps to help people from our busy culture, overbearing and sort of overly mired with getting things done culture, back into something that seems to be more embodied and allow for more space in our minds, in our hearts, in our bodies, from which to come to whatever the task might be. It doesn't even need to be necessarily a therapeutic endeavor, or it might be music, it might be writing, it might be just being with your family, it might be taking a walk. So this is what's called a photoplethysmograph. It's a little infrared camera, and it reads from my finger the perfusion of blood into the capillaries in my finger. Around my waist I have a respiratory belt, a little elasticized sensor here with a wire going off to it, going into this Y cable. So one part is from the respiratory belt, the other part's from this little sensor. It goes into a USB connection that simply goes into the computer.
Maybe you can say for a second, like just really briefly, what kind of things it's measuring.
Okay, so I'm actually going to go on to the other screen. So it's taking a moment to calibrate, but what's happening is here where this arrow is moving across is a screen that reads, the blue line reads my respirations. I'm going to take a deep breath in right now. You see it go up and then go down. I breathe out. So that's the blue line on that middle screen, or upper screen. The red line is reading out my heart rate, changing from moment to moment. There's a graph. Breathing in again, and then breathing out. Okay. Now those peaks in the lower right-hand corner are not yet showing very much because this has not calibrated very much. But ideally over time, when I regulated my breathing for a few moments, the green peaks here where the little arrow is would stand tall, and these blue and red ones would be low. And that would indicate that I'm in a heart coherent state. In other words, that this variation of heart rate rhythm would be in itself in a coherent rhythm. And that's really basically what it's telling me.
That's it.